The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. That's right. It is Tuesday, November 26th. And today is National Cake Day. And yes, you guys can eat it too.
Nice.
Yes. You like the icing. You like the icing on the cake, I see, huh, Todd?
Yes.
Fair enough. Anyways. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. Oh shit! Sorry, Adam. Sorry, my bad, Adam. My bad, Adam.
What have you done now?
Nothing. He said I started talking too fast, so some people might have not have caught the introduction or whatnot. But
Got it.
All right. Well, you know what? You know the great part about doing a show every day, Todd, is that you can be better tomorrow.
That's right.
That's right. And speaking of being better today and tomorrow, we have, that's right, the man who resembles Mr. Clean. That's right, with a super clean voice. And that's right, it is none other than Mr. Todd Denkin. He's the founder of DigiPath Labs and, of course, the founder of the Smuggleverse, where you can buy all of your digital dank, where you're going to smoke that in some digital consumption lounge somewhere, pushing a whole bunch of buttons. That's right, it is none other than Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you.
Look, I got applause for you, Todd. See that? Look at that. I got applause for you, bro.
Nice. Thank you, Paul. Hello, Tuesday, and it is Talk About It Tuesday, and we got some lots of great stories to talk about today, and I'm going to start off with trouble in Minnesota. That's right. Minnesota's first marijuana license lottery will be delayed amid multiple lawsuits challenging the regulators. That's right. A Ramsey County judge has ordered Minnesota cannabis regulators to delay the first cannabis license lottery that was set for today. Judge Stephen Smith, after an hour-long hearing on 4 lawsuits filed against the Office of Cannabis Management, decided to delay the lottery to give 4 parties time to appeal to the State Court of Appeals. All 4 had sued to stop the lottery over claims that they had been wrongfully denied entry into the lottery. OCM last Monday notified 2/3 of the 1,800 certified social equity applicants that they would not be moving into the lottery. And on Friday, it set the first lottery for 280 licenses for today. Social equity applicants are individuals who are in groups that legislature stated suffered disappropriately from marijuana prohibitions. Beth, who called the case both interesting and urgent, issued an order that was both in response to plaintiffs' fear that clients would be harmed if they missed the lottery and the state's argument that the district court lacked jurisdiction. He said he would issue a stay of the cases to allow the 4 plaintiffs and perhaps others to ask the Court of Appeals to rule on whether the OCM followed the law. Said it requires the court to make a decision on very short notice with limited information. At this point, going to stay the matter and have the appellate court review the decisions that have been made. With that, there's no lottery tomorrow, Smith said yesterday, and the matter will go to the appellate court, and the appellate court can exercise its jurisdiction in determining how this matter should move forward, he added. 4 sets of plaintiffs represented a variety of applicants who received denial notices. Both stated that the OCM did not provide required explanations for the denials or had not previously requested applicants to correct problems in their applications. One case, Arengues Connolly versus Office of Cannabis Management, involved an applicant that had signed an agreement with a third party to sell the business. That, state lawyers argued, was similar to 200 other applicants that ran afoul of state law that requires the applicants to be the owners and controllers of any license. The OCM said it blocked many applications it suspected were using social equity certified applicants to win licenses that would then be controlled by others, so-called straw purchasers. The basis for denial ultimately is you have to disclose who actually is in control of the entity, an Assistant Attorney General Oliver Larson. If you can be forced to sell your entity to someone else, you are not in control. If someone else is funding your application, you are not in control. Fundamental failure here is they were trying to hide the fact that these 2 plaintiffs were not the true party of interest, Larson said, calling it a part of an illegal scheme. David Asp, the attorney for Christina Arengues and Jody Connolly, said the agreement they made with another entity allowed for the sale only if it was allowed by state and regulators approved by the OCM. That, he argued, would make it allowable and did not constitute a legal requirement to sell license if won at the lottery. Other plaintiffs were applicants who say they were not given adequate explanation for their denials. All asked to halt the lottery because they would suffer irreparable harm if they missed the special lottery for social equity applicants and had to try again next year in the general lottery that is expected to have many more applicants. Courtney Ernston, a lawyer for several denied applicants, described one who paid $5,000 to enter the lottery and would have to pay an additional $5,000 next year. He described another who asked for a cannabis transporter license, who, because there were fewer applicants than licenses available, would have won a license had they not been denied last week. The best case scenario is that this court must issue this temporary restraining order and stop the lottery from happening tomorrow, Ernston said yesterday. That would give time for additional briefing by lawyers and another hearing. We've got a lottery happening tomorrow that we found out about Friday, and it just can't happen, Ernston said. State lawyers argued that the legislature purposely set up an expedited process in order to provide social equity applicants a head start, prepare to enter the business when final OCM rules are adopted next spring. The law also allows cultivators to put seeds in the ground as soon as they receive pre-approval licenses, which was meant to get cannabis products ready for sale when stores open. Law, argued Lawson, said the Assistant Attorney General did not allow appeals such as cases in court on Monday. The legislature understood that in order to get through hundreds of applicants, make decisions, hold the lottery, and start this process in a matter of a few months, was going to mean there was going to be a truncated review, Larson said. It specifically said there would be no appeals of denials for the same reason. Larson said that if the social equity lottery is delayed, OCM could be forced to cancel it and put all applicants, social equity and general applicants, into the same lottery next year. That is a real harm to the 600 or so folks who put in an application and did what they were supposed to do and are ready to go through the lottery process, Larson said. In addition, Assistant Attorney General Ryan Petty told Smith that the district court lacked jurisdiction and that the cases have been filed at the Court of Appeals. He called the fact that the cases were filed in district court a fatal defect and asked Smith to dismiss the 4 cases. But Asp and others argued that the OCM did not follow the law when it did not issue deficiency letters to all applicants with gaps in their applications and then denied 2/3 of the applicants with limited or non-existent explanation. Asp said, the law says that if they deny, they must notify the applicant of the denial and basis for the denial. This seems sympathetic to the assertion that without a stay, the plaintiffs would suffer, and also to the argument that district court judges, such as himself, lack jurisdiction to rule. That can be determined by the Court of Appeals, but such a pathway would not be available if the court didn't stay the lottery, he said. 8 lawyers, however, had argued that he didn't even have the authority to do that much. David Standa, an attorney for another plaintiffs, pointed out that if the lottery was allowed to proceed today and the Court of Appeals found OCM in violation of the law, a different set of problems would be created. But if the Court of Appeals came back and said, yeah, all these people need to be in the lottery, Standa said, is the OCM going to take away pre-approvals from everyone it issued them to and then rerun the lottery with the people who were supposed to be in it? OCM issued a media statement Monday after responding to Smith's ruling and also said the lottery and statement by interim director Charlie Briner were canceled. Briner broke down those who will receive denial notices into 4 groups. Those who failed to meet the qualifying standards set up by the state law, those who failed to provide the documents required to verify they met qualifications, despite OCM's attempt to give them an additional opportunity, those with inconsistencies in ownership requirements and true party of interest provisions, and those who appeared to be engaging in fraud, what she called zone flooders. We saw a couple of 100 applications that were virtually identical, including the business plans and the projected profits for the first year, Briner said. There were multiple people with the same address. They were using a domain name that is unregistered and inactive. Some have a phone number that ties back to the same individual. Briner joked that they were so brazen she thought, are you kidding me? Another OCM discovery of bad actors, all out-of-state applicants, came via a tip from a whistleblower who had been approached to recruit people to submit applications and then paid off if they won the lottery. State law does not allow the purchase of pre-approval licenses and includes provisions to slow or prevent license transfers. While we are disappointed by the decision to prevent OCM from moving forward with the license pre-approval lottery tomorrow, we stand by the process used to review applications, said the OCM yesterday. Minnesota's approach has always aimed to protect the integrity of social equity license, and the rigorous review also allowed us to identify and prevent bad actors from entering the system. Each statute sets high standards for applicants to successfully complete applications, while also filtering out those with malicious intent. OCM concluded, we remain committed to launching an equitable, sustainable, and responsible adult use cannabis market in Minnesota. Doesn't sound that way. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and do we think Minnesota will get its shit together, or will this be another licensing debacle due to bad actors and poor social equity planning? What do you guys think?
This is going to be a total debacle.
I think Minnesota's actually doing a pretty decent job, and I actually appreciate that they've done something that other markets have yet to do, which is go ahead and get the bad actors out of there, actually look into who's owning these companies, who's, submitting the same applications over and over again, and all these people who dial for dollars and tell people, oh, did you know that you can be a social equity applicant so that I can have this license? So I think that's the one win that I can see for Minnesota. I reported on it last week, and I enjoy that.
Are you saying that they've been pulling all the weeds out of their program, Jenny Beth?
I think that they've drained the swamp, Jason.
They're draining the swamp. Man, interesting. Maybe Jack Smith, since he's not doing anything else, he can take up this issue.
I think it's really interesting, too, that since the people who weren't able to pull their bamboozlement across aren't in the lottery, now all of a sudden the lottery has to be stopped. And I think it would be an absolute shame if they have to stop the lottery and do traditional and social equity applicants at the same time, because that defeats the spirit of social equity.
It definitely does, yes. I seem to get a real social equity program off the ground anywhere in the United States. No? Why do you think?
Because they don't intend to. Because they don't intend to.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Yarrow, a fun phrase, right, to say to the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yarrow, what do you have to say about this, Yarrow? I see you just holding back right now.
I'm conflicted.
Oh,
On
boy.
one hand, there's some, do we blame people for exploiting loopholes? We do that with our taxes, and we feel proud of ourselves. And on the other hand, the fact that they're doing this vetting is super refreshing to me. And the fact that they're talking about what does ownership actually mean, and if you are, if you're in a position where you sign a contract where at some future date you're going to have to sell to somebody, does that qualify for control? it gave me goosebumps, really, because there are a lot of problems with these programs, and it seems like they're trying to do something about a lot of those problems, and that they're looking at the issues from other programs and the rollouts of those other programs and trying to make those adjustments appropriately. When I heard the thing about the business plan being identical and stuff like that, two things came to mind, because I have these, like, you know, little parrots on either shoulder.
Oh boy.
The first one was like, hey, wouldn't you file share and wouldn't you replicate and wouldn't you be like, hey buddy, I'm shooting mine in District 4. What do you got? Hey, let me borrow your document. And the other part of me is like, okay, there are these mills where people are just trying to take advantage of economy of scale and just shoot out as many as they can with these applicants. And there is an exploitative underbelly to this that is in conflict with what these programs, I believe, were intended to accomplish. So I hate to start the day this way, but I 100% agree with Jenny.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Look at that. Look at that. Look at that smile on Jenny's face. Oh my goodness.
I mean, listen, I understand exploiting loopholes, but I think the fact that there weren't loopholes there and that people got caught and now they're all pissed off and want to stomp their feet is frustrating to me. And I shout out to you, Minnesota, for actually trying to shut this down and trying to do something about it before you give these people licenses. Because, you know, shout out to them for actually reading the fucking business plans that they're requiring people to submit.
Right. That's right. That's right.
Shout out to reading.
Is the lottery the best way to do this? You know, everyone fills out an application and you pick a name out of a hat, right?
I mean, the reason why people do a lottery is to avoid
lawsuits, right?
Of favoritism and that they weren't somehow influenced by whoever had come into their office most frequently, dropped off,
or make it seem that way, at least, you know.
Well, that didn't work.
Create the illusion, huh, Saman?
Sure.
It also didn't work in Illinois.
Like a turd genie.
It's all about the illusion of fairness. This is America, after all, guys. So we know how it works.
Are you saying that America is all about illusion, Saman?
No, I'm saying that we Houdini the reality we want to see, and Minnesota is no different. Here's the reality. In literally every state, from I don't know, let's say when Florida became legal, this was a perfect example of how, you know, these organizations that go in, they find the right type of people to help bolster their application, and they might make that same, you know, mirrored application in every area, every county, every sector, however that state has segmented and bifurcated, like the application zones or whatever. That is how it goes. This is how it's gone everywhere. And just because Minnesota says this and stopping this doesn't mean that they don't have a surreptitious, you know, situation going on. And we'll see who owns the licenses at the end of the day. But as you know, as a license holder in a state that's been mired in like conflict like this and has had, you know, serious legal repercussions and ramifications, all that does is just hold out. It just holds up the system for everyone else and for access. Now, there are some people in Minnesota that are currently operating. So what this does is it gives them an advantage. Now, whether you want to say free market incorporates everyone getting to the market at the same time to be able to see who does better work. Hey, I have the best quality product at the best price, and it's, you know, and that's it. Now it's creating a lopsided situation just because we're overanalyzing the applicants in a way that, you know, maybe they don't like the fact that they applied more than once. Maybe they don't like the fact that there's multiple people on the same applications. But, you know, is that something that's like damning? Is that a damning fact? I think the issue isn't just the social equity piece. It's that they're jumbling all of this up together, and that's kind of like you're fumbling the opportunity. You're marginalizing the people that are marginalized even more now. So I don't know. It's sad. It's sad that we haven't gotten like a systematic way to get this done. Politics still reign and rule over all of these states. So
the truth is, what's the matter with making that your business plan? I'm going to go get a license and I'm going to sell it for a profit.
Exactly.
Why does the government care? Who cares?
It's not a problem until it's a social equity license that wasn't set for you, right? Because the people who are doing that, they're not going out and saying, hey, let me go get this opportunity and I can, restore what the wrongs that have been done to me due to the war on drugs.
Yeah, they're like, let me exploit this guy.
One big payoff, isn't that restoring?
Hold on, but that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening because I spend the majority of my time working with these applicants. I almost exclusively work with social equity right now, other than the licenses that I operate. So I think that the issue is that it's a group of people who are not going to ever qualify for social equity. A lot of these people are very unscrupulous people, and they're going around and finding people, and they're like, hey, here's the deal. I'm going to put your name on this license. I'm going to give you this little piss-ass salary for however long it is until I can assume your equity. And so it's not that's not the equity applicant's business plan. It's the asshole's business plan.
Keeping up with the Joneses.
And Todd, you're absolutely right. Like, we don't want to restrict trade. We don't want to restrict social equity applicants' ability to quickly exit and to take a couple chips off the table and to not fall into that hype around intergenerational wealth and then everybody has to be able to buy their own island in the Bahamas because they opened up a single dispensary. But what Jenny is speaking to is the way in which these programs are gamed so that people who aren't even social equity are benefiting and creating wealth for themselves through these programs, typically at the detriment of the social equity applicants. I'm a social equity applicant in San Francisco. I wish I had taken the base hit and taken some chips off the table. Instead, I took the long, slow road to basically nowhere, and along the way have nothing but crow's feet and gray hair to show for it. But
you get that computer.
When I was offered the opportunity to participate in some of these other markets out of state where there wasn't a residency requirement, I don't know. It just didn't feel right for me personally. Like, no disrespect to those that did choose to participate, but it wasn't in my backyard. My harms weren't in that area, even though I qualified and I was solicited by people who were looking for people who had sort of the CV or the arrest record that I had. There was something about it that felt a little exploitative about coming into a market to benefit from the opportunities that market was going to be creating. And so I think that's really, it's like, who are the recipients of the wealth that is created through these opportunities? And when the social equity person gets gamified and they become the smallest part of that, instead of the master of their own domain, win, lose, or draw, whether their business is successful or flops, it does feel like sharecropping in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, the rule that creates that in a lot of instances, and maybe it's not a rule, but it's like they want to see operator experience in a lot of these applications. And if you don't have that experienced operator on your team, and you're a social equity applicant that maybe has a history, it's like that doesn't preclude you necessarily, but it doesn't necessarily grant you, your license in a way that's like, oh, hey, we obviously deserve this. It's like the grading scale also is not, I don't think is actually correct to be bifurcated state to state. They need to come up with a standardized metric and say, hey, these are the things. But also, who's going to win those conversations? Who's going to win that, the race with experience? It's going to be the people that have been in business. It's going to be the people that are spending the money right now lobbying these states. It's unfortunate, but that's exactly how it works. And
it's going to be the people with the best lawyer. That's who.
Yeah, if you don't like it and you want to do that, then you need to be a proponent for the small guys. You need to start donating money to these social equity campaigns in these states so that they can have some kind of head start with a crowdsourced funding campaign that's going to
see what you did there, Simon, the Head Start program. I see what you did there. That was cute.
The problem with the Head Start as an intangible benefit to social equity licensees and operators is that these permitting programs tend to take much longer than they were intended to take. And so that Head Start ends up being next to nothing or practically immeasurable. Mm-hmm. And so when you got somebody like Kika Keith that took 1,000 days to get her dispensary open in Los Angeles, those Head Starts end up becoming nothing. And so Simon is right. On paper, that Head Start, that first to market, can be an amazing opportunity. In reality, most social equity markets are just filled with so many inefficiencies as they allow people to go out there and become operators that those Head Starts end up becoming nothing. personally, I believe that social equity applicants should have tax relief.
Yep.
I feel like that crosses the bipartisan divide. If your ass got taxed in the past, why do you got to get taxed today? If you had to be in handcuffs before the industry was an industry, why do you have to be shackled to the tax structure that everybody seems to think is going to pay for every other societal ill that we haven't found a funding source for? So I would love to see programs. I mean, I've even heard the most harebrained things. In San Francisco, they said, we're going to tax the industry, we're going to create a fund, and then we're going to lend it to social equity operators. And I was like, okay, so let me get this straight. You're going to take more money from the entire industry, then you're going to lend it, which means that you're charging interest, and you're going to give it back to the people most impacted already. I don't know how many languages I can say go fly a kite in, but let me start to begin that. And so I think that really tax relief and those kinds of things that maybe, if not permanent, have a very long tail on them is a way to give these businesses an advantage. Because if you say that someone's going to get first to market and then you're mired with missteps, that first to market ends up typically not being much of anything.
Well, Brian,
100%. And I guess I'm having trouble today because I'm have to agree with fucking Yarrow again. This is going to be
holy shit. I can't believe
welcome
it.
to the story, by the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I covered the part about them kicking all the applicants out last week. It was a lovely story. I think Yarrow and I agreed on that one too. I think speaking to what Saman was saying about the license process, and if you're going to do a lottery, it shouldn't be a merit-based application, right? It should just be a straightforward application because that makes it very difficult. If you're going to have a merit-based application process, then you don't really need a lottery because you're weeding people out based on qualifications and based on merits, correct? So, I mean, and there are people who will go on your license. I'm on so many fucking applications. I don't take a percentage of equity. I don't take a fucking dollar, but my operational experience is now linked to your application because I am in fact advising you. So I am helping you create your operational structure and your standards and training you. And so there are people who will do that, but that's few and far between. And when we look at these, some of these social equity groups and some of these incubators, that's a large problem also with the money that's thrown into the pot to be portioned off, because I'm sure Yarrow can tell you, they will take your money and run it up and leave you on your ass without it. So, I mean, I think that we just need to be very careful, especially in the minority community. Pay attention because not all of these people look like what you think they look like. Pay attention to every time a state's like, here comes a social equity program, who's throwing those fucking events that wants your name and your address and your conviction information. Look at those things because not everybody is a good actor, and a lot of people are there to take advantage of you, and they're mining those names so that they can throw as many things in the hat so that they can win, not you.
Yeah.
Typically, they look exactly like you would hope they would look as if they were an ally. Typically, the people who are doing this are wolves in sheep's clothing. It's called wolves in sheep's
clothing, Yarrow.
That's right. And so it's terrible. It's exploitative, and it usually comes along with. I mean, I run in the opposite direction anytime somebody drops the term intergenerational wealth. To me, that's like a red flag. That's like the slimy uncle at the birthday party that you're worried about and you don't want to have around your kids. Like, it just...
Aren't you that guy?
Well, Brian Dombrowski says in the chat, he says the Farm Bill is the real social equity program, you guys.
Yeah, that part, Brian.
Nonsense, hogwash.
Yarrow, you're right. And it's unity in the community, shit like that. Like, pay attention to those people because they're not unifying shit.
Hey,
all those culture vultures, huh, Jenny?
I be playing the UNITY.
Oh boy, yeah, we're going to a commercial before Saman starts singing anymore. We'll be right back, you guys.
Before Saman,
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Sorry, guys.
I'm stuck on Yarrow.
I just hit. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, Adam. I didn't realize I'm supposed to press that every time. My bad.
Somebody's gonna call me, honey.
Sorry, guys. Sorry for that little blackout for a second. But we're back.
Whiteout, you mean?
I mean, oh man, I have so many things to say. Yeah, it's so racist, Rico. You're probably the ones that thinks that street signs are all racist too when they just have the little white man walking across the street, huh?
Why can't the black man cross the street?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a white guy. Why would I think that?
The green guy.
As the resident black man on the show, I don't want to be on no sign walking across no motherfucking street.
How come all this? I think it may be a little bit racist, Rico, because every time I see a little black figurine, it's always got the no crossing sign.
And a bigger dick.
Where do you see black figurines?
On street signs.
In front yards.
On white street signs.
Little lawn jockeys. That's what you see. Black
no lawn jockeys, bro. No lawn. I'm gonna send you a picture. You're gonna crack up.
You know I will. You ready to go? I can go.
Yeah. We're gonna go roll into the dope dad himself, who happened to be a little late today, but he is still doing okay. That's right, because little Zozo had some important schooling to do today. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on, Rico. There you go.
Because Brady said their own neighborhood watch guys.
Oh my God. Thank you, Jason, and had a little Thanksgiving parade this morning. It was fantastic.
Is that what that's called? The turkey trot?
Fantastic. At the at Dinker Elementary School here in Torrance. But my story today is Marijuana Moments. Kyle Yeager, Republican Representative Andy Harris, a staunch opponent of cannabis reform, has pressed NIH Director Monica Bertagnolli during a House hearing about the role of the National Institute of Drug Abuse, NIDA, in the Biden administration's recommendation to reschedule marijuana from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 under the Controlled Substances Act. Harris questioned whether NIDA was consulted on the rescheduling decision, but Bertagnolli, who began her role in September 2023 after the recommendation was made, said that she was unaware. Harris has previously claimed that NIDA Director Nora Volkow opposes full cannabis legalization, citing her concerns about insufficient clinical research. However, his stance contrasts with NIDA's concurrence with the rescheduling recommendation, as stated by the Department of Health and Human Services. Volkow has also criticized Schedule 1 classification for obstructing cannabis and psychedelics research. Harris, who has also championed measures to block marijuana sales in Washington, D.C., reiterated that his belief that cannabis reform is harmful, regardless of political implications, is called for HHS and FDA scientific standards misguided, and urged the DEA to reject the rescheduling proposal altogether, arguing that it poses public health risks. And while I personally believe Andy Harris to be a conspiracy theorist, bullshit artist, and a general terrible human being, for those of you who forgot, he was one of the 10 Republican House members that co-conspired with a defeated Trump administration in late December 2020 to plan out the January 6th insurrection.
Stop it.
After being, this is all on record, after being
identified. A day of love, Rico. A day of love.
Common protest, bro.
After being identified and called out by fellow Democrats the next day, he tried to fight Representatives Al Lawson and Colin Allred mid-session.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yes. Less than a week later, he was stopped by Capitol Security metal detectors attempting to bring a loaded pistol onto the House floor. Your boy, Andy Harris, Jason. More recently, this October, pre-election, Harris claimed that Hurricane Helene's damage to North Carolina was a blatant attack by Democrats to disenfranchise Republican voters. Therefore, all the state's electoral votes should have automatically been handed to Trump. This is before the election went down, y'all. Solid dude. But in this case, because of the crafty way that he's questioned these officials, he may end up scoring big points for the prohibitionist movement. Per the article, Harris noted that he's previously asked NIDA Director Nora Volkow if she thought it was a bad idea to allow recreational marijuana to be fully legalized while we still have so many outstanding clinical questions. And he claimed that she agreed it's probably a bad idea, while acknowledging the Bertagnolli started running NIH in September 2023 after the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services completed its scientific review and recommendation for rescheduling. The congressman still asked whether NIDA was consulted before the decision was made. I do not know the answer, she said. So Yeager pointed out the framing of Harris's questioning at the hearing was somewhat misleading. Rescheduling is not legalization. He said this on the floor and nobody caught that. So it seems to conflate the NIDA official stance on complete legalization with the Biden administration's push to reschedule cannabis, which would not federally legalize it. If you were not listening closely, or if you were the common American citizen, you probably wouldn't have caught the difference or even knew that there was a difference between rescheduling and full legalization altogether. Either way, Andy Harris is a piece of shit. And shout out to Kyle Yeager for calling him out on this gotcha questioning attempt on the floor yesterday. Don't be surprised if more moments like this pop up where politicians like Harris do indeed have ulterior motives, and they will catch your ass lacking if you let them. In Elon Musk's era of Twitter supremacy, more mis and disinformation than ever is being spread without being checked. Call that shit out when you see it or hear it, and keep following the money for answers. Gonna be a long ass 4 years ahead, y'all. Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. Let's talk about it. Your boy, Andy Harris. You guys are trying to defend his ass, and all he's trying to do
is a douche.
Waste motherfuckers' time and play word games, and motherfuckers are trying to move this shit forward.
I feel bad for Andy Harris.
Damn, it sounds like you, Rico. I'm kidding.
I feel bad for Andy Harris. He has to share a name with that lady.
Listen, I think that the man brought a gun to work, a loaded gun.
I mean, in all fairness, people do have tried to attempt to kill members of Congress. So I'm not too, you know what I'm saying, worried about him.
He was leading those efforts, Jason.
Stop it. Stop the ridiculousness.
He's like, oh, they're
protection, bro. It's a Second Amendment, bro. Second Amendment.
No, they should have done his ass like they did like they've done every other high school kid brings a loaded gun to school. Expel the shit out of his ass.
Not going to expel him from Congress. That's not how that works. He's an elected official.
Right there.
Stop the cap. Stop the cap.
Those guys, they like guns in schools.
Like a good guy. Samon's hand is
guns in
raised.
schools.
I just have a dumbass question. That's the only reason why I'm raising my hand. I have a stupid question. What the fuck is my tax dollars paying the Capitol Police for? What are we paying the Capitol Police for? Why are we funding?
That's a very good question.
You know what? That's a great question. The problem with the Capitol Police is that is that they're unionized, and so you know what I mean. They got one of these woke ass unions behind them.
Let's stay on topic here. Andy Harris is out there saying like, you told me that legalization was a bad idea. He caught Laura Volkow up because she was prepared for the legalization versus rescheduling thing, and now she looks like a dumbass. And watch him post this shit all over the internet. See? Got her.
Gotcha.
See? They don't know what they're talking about. These people are endangering the youth. We need to save the children.
Save the children.
And Jason Beck feels bad
for the children.
Jason Beck feels bad for this man because of his last name.
If I may.
Please, Yarrow, please.
Simon, we are paying the Capitol Police to get trampled occasionally on January 6th.
That's right.
We are absolutely, Jason, elected officials still have to abide by rules in order to maintain their position as an elected official. I don't think we want
elected officials in Congress have immunity, diplomatic immunity.
I got the talking stick, and it's a vape pen.
You got the talking hardware.
You mind your P's and Q's.
He's got that D8. You got that D8 pen. Ooh. Stop it! I'm in NorCal where the terps flow freely. D8MT.
I don't think we want elected officials bringing guns to work because it's not like all of them have close quarter combat training. I do not want some old frail motherfucker thinking that just because he has a 40 caliber Kimber, he's going to be safer and I'm going to be safer because it's tucked between his briefcase and wherever. Okay. So the next thing is Rico did a good job of making this partisan. I know you guys make him wrong for that, but I don't understand why 3 of you, I think, interrupted him during his article. Because if y'all do that to me, I'm going to go batshit and you won't be able to put me back on the shelf.
There was no interruptions.
There was.
Oh, there were 3 interruptions, Jason.
There was no interruptions. It was just some commentary. Just some commentary.
How do you do commentary on commentary? You're supposed to wait, brah. Okay, so then the next thing is, I don't think it's a partisan issue that we have a lot of the establishment that doesn't want to see cannabis descheduled or rescheduled. And so this guy, to me, doesn't represent the Republican Party. I don't necessarily think it's fair, Rico, every time someone has an R at the end of their name to say that they're Jason's boy, okay? And
I called him his boy after he defended him. That's when I called him his boy.
I hear you. And if I had been interrupted as many times as you were in my article, my eyes probably would have just tilted back in my head. And I think we need to really think about how a lot of these politicians and policymakers are giving lip service to change on either side of the aisle, whether they're talking about increasing funding for understanding the clinical benefits, or we're talking about the economic revitalization of industrial areas where manufacturing is no longer part of the economy, but growing the good indoor and tearing it up with some LEDs is still a viable business plan. There's a lot of lip service going on. A lot of these people are just entertaining the idea. They're putting a toe in it to look like they're kind of curious. And I don't think a lot of them are really going to push this forward. And I think that's a problem that's bipartisan. And I think we're seeing it on both sides. And I think we've seen this election and there's a pendulum swing. But let's be really clear. You know, if we were going to grade the Biden administration on the last 4 years, I can't say that Trump is going to be that much worse.
He's definitely not. It's going to be way so much better.
Son of a bitch, I agree with Yarrow again.
No,
and you know what?
Look at that. It's trending.
I don't think anybody is giving the Biden administration high grades on anything. I mean, are we?
No.
Have we?
No.
Have we ever?
Infrastructure. Stop it, Todd. Look at all the potholes in LA. You can give the Democrats a top grade in infrastructure if their life depended on it.
I think they have. I think they have.
Comma, not a period. But okay, go ahead.
I think they have. I think they have a lot more positives than they know even how to promote. But I don't think anybody's giving them a high grade. They have a marketing problem. They have an outreach problem. They just got all kinds of problems, and they don't have any kind of what was your favorite word you just brought up a second ago, Saman? UNITY. Yeah,
they have a unity problem.
They got a unity problem.
Yeah, they do.
And I too would agree with you, Yarrow. I really don't see much changing over the next 4 years under Trump.
There's going to be a lot of change.
For this guy to say that there's not enough clinical information, it's like, well, there's not enough clinical information because research and development and understanding in this country has been stifled, and that's been in no small measure because of the federal policies. So you can't blame the byproduct of that poor federal policy as the reason why the federal policy can't change. That is like a circular firing squad of intellectual incompetence. So that makes him qualified to be a member of Congress because
I think Andy Harris would be. I think Andy Harris would approve of a circular firing squad.
That's for sure.
Oh boy, jeez, Louise, like
he brings loaded guns on the House floor, bro. Like I think he's exactly what he was going for. January 12th.
Just because he brings a loaded gun to the House floor doesn't mean that the floor of Congress is all of a sudden the OK Corral, Rico.
Well, he was trying to make it the OK.
Bringing a gun and brandishing a firearm is two totally different things. He didn't pull it out on nobody.
Of course, because the Capitol Police stopped his ass from doing just that, Saman Razani.
Hey, our tax dollars are going to work with that.
Yeah.
That's what your tax dollars are paying for Andy Harris going in there and finishing off what January 6th tried to start.
Stop the ridiculousness. That was totally set up by the FBI and CIA and a whole bunch of provocateurs.
Oh, day of
Straight
love.
up.
Was it a day of love or was it set up?
I thought it was Antifa first.
Holograph, bro. It was a hologram.
Was it Antifa? Was it a day of love or was it the CIA? Which one was it, Jason?
Which one was it?
The CIA, FBI, agent provocateurs provoking the whole situation.
The FCC.
Right.
I didn't say. I've never said Antifa. Antifa goes and does damage at other parts, not necessarily in the Capitol building.
All of those people were crisis actors, Todd. Don't you know? They were all crisis actors.
They were bussed in and paid.
God.
That's right.
Oh man. You know what? You guys are so ridiculousness. We're gonna keep this train rolling. We're gonna roll right into Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Serve, a 501c3, and happens to be America's new sweetheart. That's right. It is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Okay, well,
See, you got your applause, Jenny. You see that?
Jason's finding his buttons, you guys. I'm really proud of him. Good job, Jason. Beck.
Thank you.
It was me.
Stop it. You guys are, stop the ridiculousness. That was me. You guys are always taking credit for shit I do.
Over here.
Oh, you guys done?
Yeah, it's all you, Jenny. The floor is yours.
Okay. Well, I have some news out of my home state. I'm assuming Chris Brady's going to be pissed about this, but that's okay. Let's go for it. Because Georgia hemp law brings big changes for Savannah cannabis businesses. This year, Georgia's cannabis industry is seeing major shifts as the Georgia Hemp Farming Act, signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp in March, takes effect. The new legislation aims to crack down on legal loopholes, forcing hemp businesses across the state to adjust. At Hempire Hut, it's a cute name, in Savannah, owner Mike Johnson says customer numbers have dropped since the law went into effect in October. We've seen a reduction of customers, Johnson explained. The law prohibits products that exceed the legal THC limit of 0.3% for hemp, and Johnson predicts that tighter restrictions will push more businesses online where regulations are harder to enforce. The act introduces new requirements for licenses, stricter age limits, and zero-tolerance policy for anyone under 21 selling or possessing hemp products. The Georgia Department of Agriculture is now tasked with enforcing these rules. Deputy Director Bruce Stanford says the changes were necessary after discovering products with THC levels far beyond legal limits, some as high as 20 to 30%. That is not hemp. What we were finding was products whose THC level was in the 20 to 30% range, which is well above the 0.3%, said Stafford. While Johnson supports the intent of the law, he says businesses need clear guidelines on how to comply. As far as anything being in stone and as to who you can work with, who you can't, there's not anything, Johnson noted. Despite the challenges, Johnson is hopeful that public perception of cannabis can shift over time. If they could change the stigma from high to healing, that would be awesome, he said. For now, Georgia's hemp industry is adjusting to new, stricter reality. So here's the thing. As someone who sold weed in Georgia, if you want to sell weed in Georgia, go right ahead. Georgia law would prefer you did not, but go right ahead. But at least do what you say you're doing. Like, this isn't even exploiting a loophole. This isn't like random cannabinoids that you pulled out of some mother liquor and whatever and synthesized and whatnot. This is weed, right? 20 to 30% is the same thing that you see on the shelves in California. So maybe spend that time, instead of trying to say this is hemp and whatever, just be honest about what you're doing. And I hope that Georgia can come forward with some kind of program that is meaningful, and we can get some kind of regulation, and we can get something that will create an industry that is not run by Kim fucking Rivers, because I swear to God, the fact that she has a low THC dispensary in Georgia already pisses me off enough. But I would like to see some kind of regulation. And until you do that, like, this is, I don't think that, all right, I want to side with operators usually, but this is not confusing. Saying you need to have it below the legal level of THC is very straightforward. If you don't know how to check COAs, then maybe you shouldn't be operating if you still, with that guidance, don't know who to buy from. Because if you're selling 20 to 30% product, you are selling what, Jason Beck? Weed.
THCA.
No.
You know, I think it's a little disingenuous for this guy, Johnson, to say if they could change the stigma from high to healing, that would be awesome. You know, it's important for us to understand that human beings with our endocannabinoid systems use cannabis to create homeostasis, but that doesn't mean everything is medical. And getting rid of the stigma of cannabis use doesn't mean that all of it should be masquerading as medicine. And it's okay for human beings to just want to feel different or get high. But like, this dude's he's selling hemp, and hemp that's way above the 0.03. The law that they're talking about makes it age restricted so that it's 21 and up. Like, how am I supposed to be upset about that? Like, that doesn't seem like a terrible thing at all. Like, do I want somebody under 21 being able to get high so much? Did I do it before I was 21? Probably. Do I want my 100%. Kids to have the same path that I did? No. Do I want the state to sanction people getting high who are young and still developing? Not at all. Not at all. So I don't understand what this guy's problem is. Go sell a bunch of CBD bath bombs to some middle-aged soccer moms and quit your bitching.
Well, yeah, I think like this is change it from high to healing. Why don't you change the name of your store from Hemp Hut to Trap? Because that's what this is.
Well, shout out to Kush Queen, man. Those are some good CBD bath bombs back in the day.
Let's discuss the medical program, though. Georgia has a two or a handful of licensed operators.
It's a subpar.
We've actually consulted one of them and helped them gain some efficiency with their like distillation system and like their operations and SOP. And we, you know, these guys are like small now, but they are going to grow. Those guys are established as like a state licensed entity that's able to handle high THC cannabis. So like, you know, there is a parallel program, but also because there's all these opportunists and there's no information from like our federal government, which is really mishandling all this by keeping by allowing this, right? It's like just make one system, just create a situation where all of the operators can like co-inhabitate the space and use all of the resources they have instead of synthetically, you know, converted cannabinoids that are, you know, patented or, you know, that are available in 50 states, but they're not like I would say that's the farthest from cannabis that we've gotten, and that's what's become legal. That's a problem. And the problem is that that's perpetuated at the highest levels of academia. You know, these are PhDs that are perpetuating this, that are saying that you should, you know, put this in products or you should smoke this or whatever. It's fucked up. You know, it's fucked up. This plant grows from the ground. Tell me when something that came out of the ground was worse than something that a lab created, and I'll shut up. But
I agree with you 100%. I think you really, really hit the nail on the head, which is every single one of these states that bolts on some sort of hemp policy, it's a byproduct of inaction by the federal government. I riffed and ranted about it yesterday. Farm Bill hasn't been updated since 2018. They're punting.
Doesn't need to.
Really?
No. I'm good with
it's
it.
supposed to be updated every 5 years, Jason.
Of all the things that have ever come out of your mouth, with the exception of bad breath in the morning,
just triggering
that is
out of
the
you right
least
now.
awful you have ever said publicly. I will give you 30 seconds to retract it before I never let you live it down.
Go ahead, Rico.
Jason
I don't have.
Agent of chaos.
Yeah, I have no problem. I have no problem with that. I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm good with it.
I mean, look, just because it came to mind doesn't mean it should have came to mouth. That is the silliest thing that has ever come out of that orifice of yours.
I don't know.
It's not true, but it's up there. That's not true, but it's up there.
The truth is, we should have had an updated farm bill. We should have guidance. We should have guidelines that apply to all 50 states. We should have cannabinoids differentiated between psychotropic versus non-psychotropic. We should have a bit more regulation on the hemp side and a lot less regulation on the cannabis side. We should have parity. And until the federal government does something about it, we're going to continue to criticize the merits and faults of state attempts to bolt on something that's a bit more reasonable than an antiquated farm bill from, 5
Yes, and until then, all you have is Parody Gummy, which you can get at parodygummy.com.
Exactly. www.parodygummy.com. Make sure to secure your bag today.
That's going to continue to be exploited.
Yarrow, are you down to share your D8MT base pen that you have there?
I don't consume D8, and I probably should. I'm a relic of a bygone era, and in my mind, as somebody who has used cannabis for more than a minute and grew up around cannabis, I still have a proclivity for the things that come from the cannabis plant. And that's not to say that hemp is bad or inferior. I tried a couple D8 gummies so that I could say I had tried it. I tried a couple hits off a D8 pen, and then I said, I've done that. I've tried it. It was like a no thank you bite. It was like escargot. Like, I'm not ever going to a restaurant to try escargot. Did I try it once or twice and take a no thank you bite so I could say I was open-mouthed and open-minded? Yes, but it's not my preference.
Rico, what's
Open mouth, huh?
What's the height? What's the height limit for people once they have grown up?
What do you mean the height limit to get on which ride?
The ride of life.
Oh man, you know what? We're gonna go to a commercial and we are gonna be right back.
Are you a business that's suffering from the hyperinflation that is plaguing America today? We have the solution for you. That's right, Patriot Business Financing. Head on over to www.patriotbfc.com and apply for a loan up to $2 million. Any state, any industry, even the cannabis industry, the CBD industry, as well as the industrial hemp fiber industry. Secure up to $2 million today, and make sure that when you apply, you tell Paul You said hi from High at 9.
Your shaft too?
And we are back, you guys. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure that you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. Are you all ready for America's new #1 D9 gummy line? That's right, we are bringing to you Parody Gummy. These vegan gummies are manufactured in a safe harbor facility, so you know they're gonna be clean and safe, and they're not gonna give you any of the runaround. Coming in, we have 3 amazing flavors for you. We have the Raspberry Riots. Also, we have the Sleepy Joes if you need something to help you sleep at night. And if you're feeling like raging and having a party time, that's right, we have the Pineapple Bad Hombre. If you're feeling like a bad hombre, make sure you head over to www.parodygummy.com and secure your bag today. Oh, and we are back, you guys.
Fellow dope dad and award-winning solvent extraction pioneer has found a way to help menopausal women push the play button once again and say hello.
Again.
And oh my God. And who knows what he's gonna say today? It might piss some people off, it might make people happy, but at least they won't be saying goodbye.
Oh boy.
Simon Rosani.
Thank you, Rico.
Hold on.
Welcome.
There we go. Look, we got some applause for you, Simon.
You're welcome. Again, that's me.
We're gonna have to work on that delay, Jason.
Sorry, bro. Sorry. I apologize.
I choose to say on every Tuesday, you know I'm gonna keep it Rizil, okay? That's why they call me the Rizil Rosani, okay? And I got a Rizil.
Who calls you that? Who calls you that?
I just did.
He calls himself that.
We have a great story coming from our favorite state, Kentucky. Kentucky medical marijuana lottery dominated by out-of-state pot companies. Big story here, guys. Most of the first 26 businesses to win Kentucky medical cannabis cultivator and processor license from its lottery system are tied to marijuana companies based in other states, one of which likely submitted hundreds of applications. Man. Big story, guys. Not like we haven't seen this in every fucking state. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear unveiled the 26 cannabis applicants who won a cultivator and processor license in late October through a random lottery drawing. Random. Repeating his often used line that the system is the fairest and most transparent way to allocate limited licenses for a new state program. But the end results of the first lottery have some questioning whether the process allows several deep-pocketed marijuana companies to game the application process and push out Kentucky applicants. A Kentucky Public Radio review of 26 lottery winners' license applications and business filings with the Secretary of State's office show roughly 3/4 had no current ties to Kentucky and instead had ties to large out-of-state cannabis companies that flooded the state with expensive applications. It's especially upsetting to some Kentucky hemp farmers as they receive none of the 16 cultivator licenses, despite their belief that they are the most qualified to grow marijuana quickly. Also raising eyebrows is the fact that Sean Clarkson, a co-founder and CFO of Dark Horse Cannabis, an Arkansas marijuana company, organized 350 new businesses with the Kentucky Secretary of State's office in the month leading up to the August 31st application deadline, all of whom listed their principal addresses as the Arkansas headquarters of the company. The companies tied to Dark Horse submitted at least 104 of the 918 total applications for cultivators and processor licenses, winning 2, a processor license and one of the 2 given out for Tier 3 cultivators, the largest operators that can grow marijuana in the greenhouses up to 25,000 square feet. Under state regulations, a parent company or ownership interest can hold multiple licenses in one category, but not ones that are vertically integrated, such as 1 cultivator license and 1 processor license. In response to questions about Dark Horse's potentially subverting the process and stacking applications, the Beshear administration claims the Arkansas company did not game the system, as the executive dark horse have no ownership interest in the hundreds of companies. Interesting. However, However, an investment pitch presentation obtained by Kentucky Public Radio shows the parent company of Dark Horse Cannabis also claiming ownership of 2 companies that won the licenses. The pitch deck also says it expects to win 2 to 3 more dispensary licenses in Kentucky's next 2 lottery rounds, which will give them a full vertical that will allow for increased overall margins and bargaining power within the state, estimated to bring in more than $150 million in revenue over the next 3 years. Dark Horse Cannabis and its executives have not responded to numerous voicemails over the past month. Michael Adair is one of the Kentucky hemp farmers who is fed up with the licensing process and has voiced those concerns repeatedly to the Beshear administration. The Dark Horse pitch deck confirms his suspicions of application stacking, and he says the administration should pull the company's licenses. Clearly, they broke the rules in being vertical and everything else, Adair said. He says he followed the rules when applying for cultivator license and was ready to start growing right away on 6 acres of greenhouses on his Paris farm he had won. I can hit the ground running, Adair said. I don't have to build out buildings. If they want material, I can have material in a couple of months. Beshear and others in the cannabis industry have touted the lottery process as a way to limit big money lobbying corrupting the licensing process. He also says it could speed up the process for growing, processing, and dispensing cannabis medicine to patients, ideally in the first quarter of 2025. He has cited other states that attempted a competitive scoring process for who gets such licenses, only to get delayed for years by litigation from companies claiming they were discriminated against, an outcome less likely by a random lottery system. Paula Savchenko, a Florida attorney with cannabis clients across the country, agrees that a lottery system is the best way to avoid litigation, but says that doesn't necessarily mean that it leads to the best results for medical marijuana programs. I'm always going to recommend it should be done, that it should be a competitive process, Savchenko said. The reason for that is because you really do want the best groups to be operating in this industry. When you go through a lottery, you're not able to really choose who's best for the state and for the patients, in my opinion. Adair countered Beshear by arguing the lottery process will still lead to a long delay before there's any medical cannabis in Kentucky stores, as many of the license winners either have no experience or won't have facilities in place to grow or process cannabis until well into 2025, if not 2026, as we all know is true. Some winners are shopping licenses around to see how much money they can get for selling them or partnering with another business, while the potential for big vertically integrated marijuana companies could choke out smaller operators and raise prices. While Beshear has held out hope that medical cannabis products will be in Kentucky dispensaries early next year, Adair says that's nearly impossible given the companies that won the license. 6 months, a year from now, when there's nothing on our shelves, people are screaming, and you've got cannabis out here doing stuff, and you got big cannabis out here doing stuff, rather, it's going to look real bad, Adair said. A wave of out-of-state applicants and license winners. Out of 16 businesses that won the cultivator license, only 2 Tier 1 licenses, the smallest tier with a maximum of 2,500 square feet and in a secure indoor facility, were made up of residents of Kentucky. None of the 16 cultivators had any ties to Kentucky's hemp industry, despite the state giving local hemp businesses priority in the application review process. What nearly all of the 26 lottery winners had in common is they registered their businesses with the state within a month of the August 31 application deadline. Very interesting. Though the Beshear administration has denied open records requests for all applications and a full list of the applicants, they did release a list of the cultivator and processor applicants after the October 28 lottery. Of those 918 applicants, nearly 2/3 registered their businesses with the state within a month of the application deadline. And these applications 350 of which were organized by Clarkson of Dark Horse, were not cheap. Clarkson's businesses applied for 28 Tier 3 cannabis cultivator licenses that cost $20,000 each, 28 Tier 2 cultivator licenses that cost $10,000 each, and 48 processor licenses that cost $5,000 each, together totaling more than $1 million. The Beshear administration has not released a full list of more than 4,000 applicants for 48 dispensary licenses around the state, which will be awarded in the lottery Monday and another in December. But hundreds appear likely to be among the businesses organized by Clarkson. The application fee for each is $5,000. The two companies organized by Clarkson that won the licenses are Natural State Greengrass Canico, LLC, which won the Tier 3 cultivator license, and Hilltop Healing Investco, one of the 10 processor licenses. In multiple press conferences dating back to April, when the administration first released its regulations outlining the application and lottery process for licensing, Beshear said one of the benefits of the lottery would be that deep-pocketed out-of-state companies would not have an unfair advantage over Kentucky's small businesses. In September's press conference shortly after the application deadline, and a late flood of applicants that grew from 1,000 to nearly 5,000 in the final days, Beshear said the regulations were designed to prevent applications stacking by companies with money to burn. We think we will set up the system very intentionally to prevent these harms, Beshear said. It's going to take us a little bit of time to say whether we're seeing it or not, but we're going to be able to deal with it if it's there. Well, Mr. Beshear, I think it's fair to say we're seeing it. The story does go on. I think we get the gist of it here. I want to give time for people to respond and the rest of the stories here. So, you know, what do we think here? I mean, it's obvious that there's something rotten in Denmark, down in Denmark. What's going on, guys? Talk to me.
Corrupt Kentucky? That's so hard to believe.
That's right.
I mean, at this point, I mean, is Minnesota the only evolving state that is paying attention to the bullshit that's happening in every other state before they got to board on shit? Like, this is just more of the same shit. Like, I don't, like, personally, like, after seeing everything that's gone down in all these other states, like, if I'm opening up my state to cannabis, whether it's medical and adult use, like, I would only let local businesses lead the charge.
That's unconstitutional. I don't think they can do that.
That's been pushed back against, Rico, and it's created costly litigation for.
Yeah, I mean, you can, but it's still federally illegal regardless, right? and you're starting the rule like you starting all the laws and everything, saying, oh, yeah, let the states have their say, whatever. Is it going to be states' rights, or is it going to be federal rights? Right? I think I think the law is fucking broken. I think the system's broken, and there's more reason to tear this motherfucker down.
Federal rights are states' rights, Rico.
Oh, what?
Jason, you are on a fucking.
You got some
today.
weird shit coming out of your mouth today.
Back to the story.
It must be those parody gummies.
Back to the story before Jason did drugs.
Story. Yeah, you go, dear.
Define drugs.
Oh, thank you.
Here.
Oh God, shush! You guys okay? God damn. All right, so listen, I think that this is a fucking shame. Like, when we look at Kentucky, we look at guys like the Cornbread Mafia who've been doing this and been taking, kind of the Robin Hoods, taking care of, the community and giving back and kind of building and whatever. Those guys should have gotten the first option. Like, not necessarily Cornbread Mafia, but people from there should have gotten the first opportunity. The fact that somebody spent an egregious amount of money submitting a bunch of applications they never should have fucking submitted, that's not my problem, and I don't care. And that's how this state is generating some revenue. So thanks for infusing the good state of Kentucky with some capital. But I think that they need to take a page out of Minnesota's book. Like, this is ridiculous. What's happening with these social equity licenses, with these licensing lotteries? Like, this is egregious, and there's no excuse for it anymore. It's not like, hey, we're a new market, we did it. No. Use your fucking eyeballs and look and see what's happened in the markets before you. There's no excuse for this to continue and continue and continue. So fuck you, Dark Horse. That was a dickhead move.
I mean,
Yarrow, can I lead oh, sorry, Simon.
No, yeah, $1 million is like a lot. Did he crack the code? Did he crack the algorithm? And they bombard the Secretary of State with new businesses that flood the lottery, and those new businesses take priority in the pick. I mean, that's a very interesting. It's a it's a 500%, increase in applications in the final days. So it's a really.
If I may.
Go for it, Yarrow.
There's a couple things here that I'd like to push back against, and there's a couple things I'd like to support. The idea that they should be giving preference to hemp farmers is laughable to me, okay? Hemp doesn't represent the legacy market, and so local hemp operators getting preference for cannabis permits seems like a pretty short-sighted way of thinking about who might benefit and be most deserving of preference.
But New York did it.
Doesn't mean I supported it there either.
Just saying.
And you've been just saying a lot today. I do agree. The other thing that I would say is that I think there is a reasonable argument that sometimes the people that are most qualified to grow cannabis may not be from some of these states, no disrespect, but there are markets, areas, regions, geographies that have been growing cannabis historically for a very long time, and that doesn't mean that's every geography. So there is outside intellectual capital that can come in and benefit a market. And if you want to have a level playing field and you have $20,000 permit application fees for the largest cultivation permit, you are in effect setting up a system whereby the more resourced and moneyed interests are going to have a greater chance of success than other people. I don't necessarily think that's fair and equitable. I like the idea that the cost of a permit is no greater than the actual cost of the government to process the permit. I don't know that it costs them 20 grand to process a permit.
When you add in all that overtime for all these union workers, I mean, it comes up to 20 grand pretty fast.
Jason just attacking unions today, left and right, huh?
Just saying.
Yeah, but and so and then the one thing I would say is that there was a statistic in this article about the number of entities that have been recently submitted, and I'm like, anybody who's done permit applications, you don't submit your entity 6 months in advance and be paying accruing minimum taxes for an LLC or anything like that. Like, yeah, you submit it right before like that. I don't think that that's some noteworthy data point. What really bothered me actually was the idea that the largest canopy for their largest permit is 25,000 square feet. 25,000 square feet at this point in my life might be considered personal use. I mean, I just think that 25,000 square feet is not a fair limit on a cultivation license when cultivators are going to see margin decline, price implosion, and are theoretically going to need to benefit from some economies of scale. And if you're capped at 25,000 square feet, you're really talking about a limited license market and a limited regulated supply chain, and that bothers me too.
But isn't that how you keep the prices stabilized in the market by not overgrowing cannabis in the state?
It's not my goal to stabilize the prices. You're
contradicting yourself, bro. It's like you can't say that like, oh, 25,000 square feet is not enough space, and then you say, oh, but it's going to get to the point where the margins are going to decline. That's the point. That's why they're not overgrowing. But it's like, if you wanted more cannabis in the state, why don't you give the hemp operators the go ahead, because they're the ones that have invested in multiple acre infrastructure, right, to support an actual agro business for cannabis in that state.
And after all, it is all cannabis sativa L by definition.
So I agree with you on what you just said about the hemp operators, and I just didn't think that they should be given some sort of golden preference. I do think that price decline and margin decay is an inevitable byproduct of market maturation. And I think we need to think about what's more important, the cost of cannabis to the consumer or the margin for operators. Now, it's also a false paradigm to suggest that just because we can grow more cannabis, that those savings are going to be passed along to that custody. But theoretically, I would rather see affordable cannabis for as many people as possible than profitable cannabis companies.
I think the more cannabis you grow and the more competition there is, the prices have to go down. I think we see it in every industry, and I think that's exactly why they're capping it at 25,000 square feet.
I'd rather see lower costs.
Look, half an acre is a lot, and an indoor grow at 25,000 square feet, it's going to sustain what it needs to sustain. But it's like, I mean, if you let more cannabis get cultivated and sold, it just naturally what's going to happen is that decline is going to happen at a steeper rate, right? So
this state is only issuing 2 25,000 square foot grow licenses. I can't imagine that that's going to keep up with demand. To me, that seems like it's a gift for the trap.
I mean, it's a gift for the trap. If it's for the trap.
You know what it's a gift for? It's a gift for weed for the people, you guys. And on that, we're going to roll into a commercial, and we're going to be right back.
I play golf once a week.
And we are back.
Bro. Danny's a fucking.
We are back, Rico. Rico, you want to introduce someone, or you want to introduce me, whichever one, or excuse me, Yarrow or myself.
We just did Saran.
I know. I misspoke.
I think we need a union boss in here to keep you in line, Jason.
You better thank a union member.
All right, fair enough. Then we are going to roll right in to Mr. Yarrow Kubrin. I guess I'm going to go last today. He is the man from the Shire who is always trying to get higher. That's why he stands on telephone books and a booster seat as he does the show today. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin. Hold on. Here we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Yes, Yarrow.
I'm not even reading my article until I get some of that canned applause.
Get it, baby.
Thank you. No, really, you shouldn't. No, thank you. No, really, you shouldn't. Good morning, High at 9 News viewers. Tuesday, November 26th, getting ready for Turkey Day. My article is a follow-up article to what I've covered a bit here on the show in respects to Nebraska. And so, hot off the press from the Nebraska Examiner, without further ado, headline reads, all charges dismissed against Notary for Nebraska medical cannabis petitions. All charges against the notary public from York accused of official misconduct have been dismissed, which could have an impact on pending case against the medical cannabis petitions he helped notarize. Hall County Judge Alfred Corey accepted a motion to squash Friday from attorney Mark Porto on behalf of J.C. Todd, the state of Nebraska, and Hall County attorney Marty Klein, because they had charged the Todd with 24 counts of official misconduct for allegedly invalid notarizations. Each count was a specific date when Todd was accused of notarizing petition pages circulated by Michael Egbert of Grand Island without both men being in the same room as required under state law. Egbert had admitted to using a phone book to add voters to the petition pages and accepted a plea deal, a misdemeanor and a $250 fine reduced from a felony. Klein in the Nebraska Attorney General's office argued that notaries were public officials and that Todd knowingly violated the law. Corey rejected those arguments without addressing the allegations. While these duties greatly assist others, notary publics are not public servants who are performing governmental functions, Corey wrote in a 4-page opinion on Friday. Todd's attorney, Klein, and the Attorney General's office did not immediately respond for requests for comment Friday evening. Corey said he could not find any similar Nebraska case on a similar matter or motion to quash. Instead, Corey pointed to a 1984 case from the U.S. Supreme Court, Bernal versus Fainter, that dealt with Texas notaries. The justices wrote, "We recognize the critical need for notary duties to be carried out correctly and with integrity, but a notary's duties, important as they are, hardly implicate responsibilities that go to the heart of representative government," the court wrote. Rather, these duties are essentially clerical and ministerial. Justice Thurgood Marshall, writing for the 8-1 decision, distinguished non-governmental personnel from those who are responsible for policymaking or have broad discretion in the execution of public policy that requires the routine exercise of authority over individuals. Neither of these characteristics pertains to the functions performed by Texas notaries, Marshall wrote. Attorneys defending the sponsors of the medical cannabis measure or representing other notaries who have been accused but not formally charged with similar counts have consistently said that no notary has ever been charged or convicted in such a manner. A state official who oversees notaries, David Wilson, has said the same. Lancaster County District Judge Susan Strong, who we've covered here on the show, is currently weighing a broader case in part of the AG's office on behalf of Nebraska Secretary of State Bob Evnen, seeking to invalidate the medical marijuana ballot measure. The AG's office is arguing that any instance of circulator fraud, which Egbert is accused of, or notorial malfeasance, as Todd was accused, should be extended to all signatures they touched. A vast majority of the challenge signatures are related to notarial malfeasance alleged against about 8 notaries, including Todd and 1 ballot sponsor. At the 4-day trial, Wilson said his office had received only 1 complaint against a related notary from Jennifer Henning, a paid petitioner circulator, against a lead ballot sponsor, Krista Edgars. Henning, a witness for Evnen, alleged Edgars had not signed her circulated petitions in person, similar to Egbert's allegation against Todd. Wilson said at the time, an investigation into Henning's complaint was just beginning. The ballot sponsors noted that Henning has been sanctioned by Nebraska courts in the past for fraudulent and improper conduct and is currently on probation for felony insurance fraud. Ooh. Yeah, that stings. Henning said she was not on proper medication at the time for her mental health. Nebraskans overwhelmingly supported Initiative Measure 437 and 438 in the November 5th election to legalize and regulate medical cannabis. State constitutional officers will meet December 2nd on whether to certify the election results, including Evnen and Nebraska Attorney General Mike Hilgers, who has said at this juncture they will certify the marijuana measures. Corey said that while many other states consider notaries to be public officers, Nebraska has outlined an administrative process through the Secretary of State's office to determine whether to maintain, suspend, or revoke a notary's license. The state attempts to differentiate what criminal activity would be as opposed to non-criminal activity, Corey wrote. The court rejects this argument. So, where there's smoke, there's not always fire. Smart judge shot down the faulty reasoning. Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I'd like to hear what everybody else thinks and feels.
Man, I like this article because you said Todd about 400 times.
What color was the smoke?
All kinds of cases have been getting dropped the last 48 hours. This is great news for everyone out there in Nebraska, and this looks like their amendment is going to be able to come to life. And shout out to all the good work that all these people did to get Nebraska across the finish line. I guess it was right. Third time is the charm.
And as the girl on the panel, I'm going to point this out because nobody else probably should. But you notice it was only one lady who had a problem with one lady. This sounds like a woman problem. And the fact that you would disrupt an entire voting process and try to invalidate this woman's whole body of work over whatever she did to your husband or whatever happened here that started this woman versus woman problem. Listen, ladies, we don't need to compete. We can all eat. I'll be cute on Tuesday.
She's probably on the Epstein list.
Whoa.
Well, maybe this woman notarized the Epstein list and she is in fact on it. She's trying to invalidate.
Well, I don't know. It's gonna come out pretty soon.
Well, baby oil aside,
it's gonna be redacted in certain places.
Stop it!
There's 30 visits from the best friend over the last 10 years.
Stop the ridiculousness.
Well, baby oil aside, we shouldn't soil the toil of all the other people who actually generated legitimate votes that ultimately led to a majority and to this thing winning. And so the argument was that because a few of them were beyond suspect and were actually malfeasance, that the entire thing should be thrown out. So their argument was, let's throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the judge was like, no, that's not really how it should work.
But if you have soil in your pants, can you still dance?
You would have to ask
Rico. Jesus.
Jeez Louise. You just know how to just totally just ruin a good conversation with all that ridiculousness, Rico. Man, I'm very excited for all the Cornhuskers out there that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
the will of the people is going to stand.
We should all smoke out of corn cob pipes this weekend in celebration of Nebraska.
Well,
can we all hear each other? Because we've been very interrupty and talk overy today.
Really? I thought we've been pretty good today overall.
I have not been.
I thought we've been pretty good today, Jenny.
Because you just got interrupted.
I still thought we were pretty good today.
What about the chat with the C word? What about the chat with the C word?
What about?
Because San Francisco's mentioned. Did we even say
Oh,
that?
you know what? Oh, my goodness. You are so right, Yarrow. Yes, we did have a super chat in from the C word. You are so right. It says, a San Francisco karaoke bar has added a dab room, and we are having our second dabaoke event on December 8th after Turnami Seed Market.
That sounds like so much fun.
Oh, man, that's going
You want me to get up there and belt it, y'all.
Yes.
Only sing songs about weed.
That sounds fantastic. Like I've never seen like karaoke mixed with fucking dabs. That's gonna be fantastic.
Only slightly stupid songs.
Oh,
I mean,
man.
whoever came up with that concept hybrid deserves honorable mention. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, shout out to the C word. We appreciate you very much.
Shout out to Dabioki.
Yes, Dabioki, yes. I feel like they need to have Steve Aoki there.
You beat me to it, Jason.
Yeah,
Goddamn you.
it just sounds like, just let them have cake, right? Let them have cake.
All right.
On Cake Day.
All right.
It is International Cake Day.
It is. I'm gonna go into my story right now, guys. So we can.
Here, Jason.
All right.
Are you gonna be able to get through it? Let's do it.
Yeah. Of course, you guys. And this is a follow-up story on something that we've been covering here over the time at High at 9 News. And a court agrees with a ban on medical marijuana advertising in Mississippi. You guys, that's right. Medical marijuana businesses in Mississippi don't have the right to advertise on billboards or other places because marijuana itself remains illegal under federal law, an appeals court says. You guys, that's right. The owner of the medical marijuana dispensary argued that the First Amendment protects the right to advertise because Mississippi law permits the sale of cannabis products to people with debilitating medical conditions. The state enacted its laws back in 2022, and a 3-judge panel of the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals on Friday rejected the arguments about advertising. They cited the Federal Controlled Substances Act, which since 1970 has prohibited the manufacture, distribution, dispensing, and possession of marijuana. And the federal law applies in all states, and Mississippi, in quotes, faces no constitutional obstacle to restricting commercial speech related to unlawful transactions, the judge wrote. The Mississippi Attorney General's office praised the court's decision for upholding Mississippi's reasonable restrictions on advertising for medical marijuana dispensaries by print, broadcast, and other mass communications, said the office spokesperson, Mary Asa Lee. Interesting how they spelled that, too. Mary Asa is all one word. Clarence Crofit II operates True Source Medical Cannabis in the northern Mississippi city of Olive Branch, and he sued the state back in 2023 to challenge its ban on medical marijuana advertising on billboards or in print, broadcast, or social media, or via mass email or text messaging. In a quote, upholding this ban makes it incredibly difficult for me to find potential customers and to educate people about Mississippi's medical marijuana program, Crofit said in a statement on Monday, and also says, I remain committed to continuing this fight so my business can be treated the same as any other legal business in Mississippi. Well, I commend you for that, sir. And the state allows medical marijuana businesses to have websites or social media accounts that provide information about their retail dispensing locations and a list of products available. It also allows them to be listed in phone books or business directories and to display cannabis in company logos. The business can also sponsor non-for-profit charity or advocacy events, and Crockfit is represented by the Institute for Justice, a nonprofit libertarian law firm. The firm said on Monday that it is considering its next steps in the lawsuit, including possibly asking the entire appeals court to reconsider the case or an appeal to the Supreme Court. Mississippi cannot, on one hand, create an entire marketplace for the sale of medical marijuana, and on the other hand, rely on a unenforced federal law to prohibit buyers and sellers from talking about it, said Ari Bargle, a Institute for Justice attorney. Well. Interesting turn of events for what's happening in Mississippi, you guys. I imagine they'll probably will take this to the appeals court, appeal this decision, and then after that, take it to the Supreme Court, because I'm not sure that they'll actually win their appeal, because they'll probably get stuck with the same judges and whatnot. But I encourage this guy to maybe possibly consider advertising on X in the meantime, since they are allowing for cannabis advertisements, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
What about advertising on High at 9 News, bro?
He 100% could advertise on High at 9 News without a doubt.
Shout out Alexis Alianello at X. X is doing a lot of great stuff for cannabis businesses.
Yes.
I mean, we're gonna have to take it where we can get it at this point. But Mississippi is interesting. Jason, it's been how many years since we've been in Mississippi? Jason,
It's been about a year and a half, 2 years. It was right when they first started back in 2022.
Had some delicious, gas station fish sandwiches.
Oh my God, that was so good. The catfish. Oh my God, from the gas station.
It's been a week there.
Oh, it was so good.
Horrible.
I don't know. Like, I think obviously we're handcuffed, we're hamstringed as an industry in general. But as a new state that's starting a program to try to limit so severely and harshly, it's definitely a cause for people to take up their right as business owners and to take it all the way down and try to reverse that decision. And we'll see what happens. But it's a very complicated situation down in the South in general. So,
what about the kids? What if the kids see a billboard? Then what happens?
Well,
right.
I mean, they should have thought about that in Colorado. Colorado already set the precedence for that in the beginning of legalization. They had tons of cannabis billboards all over the place.
What about the kids in Colorado? What happened to them?
Look at them. RTD.
They were crisis actors. They were crisis actors, Todd. Come on, man.
That's a good point.
The clever thing that cannabis businesses in Colorado did in the beginning were adopt the highways, to clean them up so they can put their signs up on the freeways, and that was actually a pretty genius move. So maybe they can, maybe the business owners in Mississippi can kind of try to do some different tactics there, get some different eyeballs on their brands and on their products. But look, there's no doubt that this has just been a lingering issue. That's why we need reform. That's why we need one singular system, and we need to push forward. It's like, as a society, we just need it to just get out of the way. And we're just being used as a pawn in politics, and it's obvious now. They're just gonna whip us around however they feel. We have to kind of take control of that. This is a increasingly large industry, $20 billion in the next 2 years potential. So look, we got to get our shit together.
Do you know how great, I should say, the Mississippi economy is? They're the absolute worst in the U.S. Well, and this little bit of money that they could have got from these advertisements, they're gonna throw that out too. They don't want money in Mississippi.
Thanks, Brett Favre.
I do agree.
Right.
I do agree, though.
The state GDP all went to Brett Favre and his bullshit.
I do agree with how they are arguing this case as far as a First Amendment issue. I think that is the right argument.
It's the right
for
argument
this, yeah.
Because the First Amendment is a federal issue, and so they're trying to win in a federal court so that they are offsetting the argument that because it's federally illegal, it's not covered. I think they're going to lose. I don't think they will, the federal court, and I don't think even the Supreme Court with this group of justices is going to try to contort themselves to figure out a world in which the federal illegality is not one of the most important criteria, and whatever those decisions might end up being. I do think that the cost of this case and the continued litigation of it should be looked at as an advertising expense, because it's a noble cause to some degree. And I think that the plaintiffs in this case are going to continue to get great exposure just by continuing to push this ball forward into the next court and the next court and appealing it and whatnot. And so they get it's advertising, it's PR. You can't advertise, but you're actually advertising because you have this lawsuit. But I don't think the federal government, I don't think that our conservative Supreme Court is going to try to find some little narrow loophole to be able to be like, oh yeah, that's First Amendment. Because you can't, there's other things that are federally illegal that you can't put under protected free speech as well. And so free speech is often thrown about in a way that is far broader than what it was actually intended. And we always use the example from school of you can't yell fire in a crowded theater and say that that's free speech. And so it's still federally illegal, and that's going to continue to.
Well, I mean, you can just get arrested for it. That's the difference, Yarrow.
Yeah, it's not so fun.
Just saying.
They don't do anything.
Yeah, they don't like money there.
Such a hater. Such a hater.
They don't like money, and they always vote against their own best interest. Weird.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the American. That's just the American way.
I don't think so. I think that's a cultural thing, and it's like a deeply rooted thing. And I feel like there is a problem with the way this administration has shaped up, and it doesn't look like they're pro cannabis. So it's like, whatever we want to say about this administration, look good or bad, I don't think they're pro cannabis. I think cannabis is still going to be used as the chit, and we're going to be moved around as they feel we should be, and they're going to position cannabis in a way to sell their story and to get more voters to buy in. But it's like, I don't see it changing. The changes that are going to come from within, always.
Change does come from within, Simon. You're so right about that.
Once they convince the moonshine, the guys who make all the moonshine, get into the cannabis business, then things will change.
Be the change from within.
Wait, is that the cornbread mafia?
Yeah.
Be the change from within.
Corn boiling mafia.
There you go.
We're gonna
the other thing that's a flimsy argument is the freedom of speech is not extended to all commercial communication. And so advertising, already it fails on the surface, because advertising is not the expression of personal beliefs. It is not the exercising of one's opinion in democracy. It is intended to create sales. And so the notion that advertising would fall under the First Amendment, it's a stretch. It's a yoga stretch at best.
I don't know. I
love
know,
stretches.
Man. Like, everything is for sale. Everything is for sale in this nation. So,
I mean, if you can advertise pharmaceuticals, should be.
I agree with that, Todd. I totally agree with you on that. Exactly right. You know what I mean? Like, if you just listen to all of the side effects and
disclaimers.
Yeah, exactly.
Cause anal bleeding.
Yeah. Man, that's rough.
That kind of shit in Mississippi, man. They like they booty holes bloody.
Check out HelloAgainProducts.com for all natural.
Anything that's red, they like.
Oh my God.
Man, you guys, jeez.
Oh my
It's not his brown note. Thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans getting their comments posted live on the big screen. Today we had a C word in the motherfucking building.
Yes, thank you, C word.
Getting their comments posted live on the big screen and announced by the team. Make sure you guys check out that the Dabioki, man. Do you have the date on that again, Jason?
It looks like it's December 8th.
I think it was in San Francisco.
December 8th. That would be 12/8, Rico. 12/8.
It's San Francisco Karaoke Bar, Dabioki, December 8th, after Nani Seed Market. Whoever's down.
Time.
I hope whoever attends that, I hope there's some videotape. I hope there's some highlight film. I hope some people are hitting the high notes in the Celine Dion and Mariah Carey solos. I just think that.
Is Celine still alive? I thought didn't she ain't she on Death's front door or some shit like that?
Well.
All the more reason why Celine needs to see that footage as well. But I think that seems like it's going to be a lot of fun.
You know what the ultimate karaoke song is that I always ask people to play to always test their musical skills?
What's that, Jason?
Yellow Rose of Texas by Bette Midler?
No, Roxanne.
You don't have to put on the red light.
Roxanne.
Big love to all the live audience and online supporters out there too, catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team, tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on. Millie and Adam behind the scenes, keeping our AV struggles to a minimum. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too. It has been Tuesday, November 26th?
26, 12, 25, 26, or 11:26, excuse me, 11:26.
And we don't even know.
Jason, what the fuck?
Sorry.
The show is over. You've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And today we're gonna pop things back out to the Georgia Peach herself. How about that?
Hello.
Jenny Beth Dills. What you got for us?
All right, y'all, just remember this is a holiday season and a lot of you guys are jolly. Some people are not. So be extra kind to people. You never know what people are going through and shit gets heavy. So just be fucking nice.
Extra jolly.